In today's video, you will see me fall in love. I start my first ever solo cruise. And I cook one of my favourites, 3 cheese mac cheese. Love at first sight. Is that? Well, for me it just happened. Let me tell you how. If you've watched into the introduction video, you will know that I've been working towards my future for several years. Finally, I was in a position to start looking at narrowboats for sale. I had planned to show you what it was like to look for a narrowboat and what the process is like to buy one. I started looking online at various boat sale sites and found about 8 boats that met the criteria I had set. For example, a reverse layout, semi-traditional stern, a nice tidy kitchen, and the ability to move in without major renovations. Some other things I was looking for were a recent safety certificate, recent blacking, recent engine service and a survey. I made an appointment to view 2 boats at a marina about an hour's drive away. When I arrived, it was a beautiful, crisp, cool morning. I had high hopes for the first boat I viewed based on the sales page on the website. However, I was hugely disappointed with it. I felt it was on budget but overpriced and in relatively poor condition. I rejected that boat. I felt so disappointed with that viewing that I was going to go home. I was persuaded by the marina staff, who were amazing by the way, to go and view another boat. It was significantly over budget. I had set to buy my new home on the water. I relented, as I was there anyway, so I thought, why not? At least I could see what I can't afford. I walked up to the boat moored in the marina and stopped in my tracks. My heart rate increased. I realised I was getting excited. It was the right colour. If you subscribe to Red One Afloat, you will soon find out I love the colour red. It had a traditional stern and canopies front and back. At first glance it appeared to be in excellent condition. Please look at this video as I walk down the length of the boat for the first time. And then I decided to go inside. With shaking hands, I finally managed to find the right key to open the door and swung it open. Bending down to look inside, all I could say is, wow. I went down the steps into the lounge area and looked around, realizing my mouth was hanging open. That was when it hit me. I am in love with Kate. I did film a quick walkthrough to remind myself later what she was like. Right, looking at a second boat. This one's called Kate. Down from the bow and stove. Kitchen, quite nice. 4 rings, side hatch and some cupboards. And fridge. That's underneath. And a little bathroom. Toilet, I believe, is a cassette. And bedroom area. Probably needs some heating. Storage cupboard for clothing. Side electrical bits. Stepping out onto the stern, bit of a squeeze because the hatch is still down. That's a view out the front. The more I saw, the more I was in love. It was the wrong layout. I wanted a kitchen at the stern, but it had it in the middle. The bedroom's at the back, I wanted it in the front. But none of that mattered. I loved the kitchen area, a massive space for such a small area. You will see later on that I love cooking from scratch, so this is ideal for me. In the days, I walked back to the marina office to tell them that I loved Kate, but I couldn't afford her. Luckily, I met someone outside the office. I mentioned I was looking at boats to buy. He advised me on how much I should offer to buy the boat. I stood outside for at least 15 minutes trying to decide if I could make my finances work. I decided I could. If I got a small mortgage, so I put in an offer. Within about 20 minutes it had been accepted. I was buying Kate. Now what, I asked myself, it's moving so quickly. I applied for a part mortgage, around 25% the cost of Kate. As a condition of the mortgage, I was required to obtain a new survey. This is where the unexpected costs started. This entailed taking Kate into a dry dock so the surveyor could assess the hull and ensure that it was in good condition. I'm happy to say she passed with flying colours, with only a couple of advisories. One is to add a couple of anodes to each side of the boat to help prevent the hull from rusting. This is not urgent and can be done the next time the hull is blacked. The other one was to replace the alternator, as there was some corrosion on the connectors. Kate has been moored in the marina for many months and the batteries were nearly run out of power. Luckily the batteries were okay, all that was needed was a good charge cycle. Once everything had been completed, the paperwork signed, the keys to Kate picked up, I was able to make plans to take charge of Kate and move her to a new mooring in a marina 17 miles away. The day before I planned to leave, I arrived at Kate with a generator to boost the batteries. Additionally, I had the comfort of knowing I had a power source in case of disaster. The next morning early, I crossed my fingers and tried to start the engine. To my great relief, it started after a couple of tries. I untied her and nervously moved to the diesel pumps to fill up the jerry can for my diesel heater. I had plenty in the tank for the engine. I tried reversing out and will admit I nearly panicked as the wind started pushing me towards some moored boats. I just missed them. Making my way out of the marina, I turned left, took a breath and smiled to myself. I am doing this. I have my own boat, and I suddenly realised it was my first ever solo cruise. Promptly nearly steering into a bush at the side of the canal. Here is that cruise as I get used to navigating through several locks as a solo boater until I'm moored up for the night. Well, here we go. Just left Property Marina on my first solo cruise ever. I've been on many boats, but never on my own. Bit nervous, I must admit. That's why I'm going so slow. Just get used to it. Be coming up to a lock shortly. I want to try and get through about 8 locks today. On my way to Calcutta Marina. The route planner says it should take about 9.5 hours of cruising, so I'm going to do that over 2 days so I don't have to rush. Try and get the majority of it done today. Morning. suspect this is going to take all day long. So I haven't worked out a proper way to do them on my own yet. Oh, I've got some people behind me. I think I might let them through after this. Here we are, coming up to the first lock of the day. It's called Broadmoor Lock, number 24. Oh, didn't do that very well. Oh, back. Oops. It's a bit tight. Right, let's get on with the recipe. Today I'm going to cook you 3 cheese mac cheese. Let me show you the ingredients. Right, 3 cheeses I'll be using today is a Mature Cheddar. It is actually my favourite cheese. And then I've got a Comte Cheese, which is a nutty flavoured cheese. And of course Parmisan. You can't have mac cheese without a Parmisan on top. And a little bit in the sauce as well. I've got macaroni pasta, some plain white flour, and I've got some sun-dried cherry tomatoes to go on top, some milk to make the sauce, and some butter for the sauce as well. I'm going to be using 2 pots today, mainly because I forgot to bring my Pyrex dish to cook the mac cheese in the oven. So I'm going to use one of the pots to cook in the oven. Colander to drain the pasta, 2 graters, 1 coarse grating is for the Comte and the Mature Cheddar, and the fine grater is for the Parmesan cheese. I'm about to start prepping the cheeses, so I'll be grating the cheddar first, then the Comte, and then the Parmesan. But I just wanted to quickly show you the view that I've got out of my window. Absolutely glorious out there now. It was raining earlier, so it was a bit miserable, but right now it is fantastic. As you can see, I've now prepped or grated the cheeses. We've got cheddar on the left, the Comte at the back, and the Parmesan on the right. I bought a pan of water to the boil, so I'm about to put in the pasta, or the macaroni pasta. Now this water is actually salted, around about a teaspoon or just under of salt to taste, but you should always put salt in with the pasta. Alright, now we're going to start making the cheese sauce. So put the pan on the heat, and by the way I've just set the oven to around about 200 degrees, just turned it on, and that's about gas mark 6 and 400 Fahrenheit. For those that would like to know. I put about 50 grams of butter in the pot. Going to melt that gently. Don't want it to get too warm, too hot. So just when it's melted, I'm going to be putting some flour in. In the meantime, the pasta is cooking. Let's just check how well it's doing. You want your pasta, as the proper chefs call it, al dente, which to me is just about cooked, a little bit firm. Yeah, that's nearly there. I'm just getting that butter nicely melted. And turn it down just slightly so we don't cook it too quickly. I get your plain flour. I'm going to put about 2 heaped spoons in there. Tablespoons, that is. These measurements are flexible. What we're doing there is gently cooking it, so you want a low flame on that. Into that. Actually, before I do that, let me take that off the heat because I need to drain this pasta. Right. Right. So it's ready to go. Let's put this back on the heat. Now here comes the slightly tricky bit, where we've got to add milk until it's the right consistency. But if you can, don't stop stirring. If you stop stirring, you're going to get lumps. I can't tell you how much milk to put in, because it all depends on how thick you want your sauce. So just putting a little bit at a time. As you will see, it quickly soaks up that milk. So keep stirring until that's all gone. You can see it's getting a lot thicker now. It seems like it's lumpy, but it's not. It's just soaked up all the milk that's available. Another splash of milk. So if you put all the milk in at the beginning, what will happen is it won't mix as well, and you might get a few lumps in there as well. Right, the thickness of the sauce, it's almost preference really. You don't want it too runny, and you don't want it too thick. That's nearly there. I'm going to add a little bit more milk, I think. What we're doing now is to actually cook the flour. It's quite an important part to do. So you're going to give it a few minutes, maybe 5 minutes or so, to cook the flour. And don't forget to stir it every so often. Right, that's now been cooking for a few minutes. You can do a taste test to see be careful it is hot. Get a teaspoon and just cool it off. That tastes good. Right, what I'm going to do next is put the cheese in to make it cheesy sauce. Is to put all the cheeses together. So basically I'm going to mix them all together. That way you get a nice even distribution of the cheeses. I'm going to put about 2/3 of this in to the cheese sauce, and the rest will go on top of the dish in the oven, so you get nice melted cheese on top. Give that a quick stir. Your pot might be a little bit full, so do this gently. So what you're trying to do is to slowly melt the cheese into the sauce. You want to keep stirring that a little bit until it gets nice and creamy and you can see that the cheese has actually melted. Right, at this stage what I'm going to do is to season it. So I'm going to put some salt, and this is to taste. Now remember, some cheeses have got quite a bit of salt in, so be careful how much you actually put in. As for pepper, again it's to taste, and I'm actually using white pepper here because I forgot my nice pepper grinder. Just going to taste this now. Yeah, that's perfect. Right, just going to take that lid off. I just put the lid on the pot so that the pasta wouldn't dry out too much. So I'm going to do now is to pour all of this sauce into the pot. I would stir this in, so you're lifting the pasta from the bottom while you turn the pot a little bit. Just a word about the cheeses. You don't have to use the cheeses that I've shown you today. I use these because they're my favourites and they combine really well. I'm going to put my sun-dried cherry tomatoes on top, just evenly across the top. You can just move them around. Again, you don't have to use tomatoes in it. If you don't like tomatoes, don't put them in. This is just how I like to do it. You can use sun-dried tomatoes, you can use plain tomatoes. Just slice them up and lay them on top. I find these give it a little bit extra. What I'm going to do now, just mix the rest of that cheese so it's nicely distributed. I'm going to put the rest of that, just sprinkle it on top evenly, preferably in the pot or in the Pyrex dish if you've got one, unlike me today. If I'm using plain tomatoes, I will tend to just put a tiny pinch of salt onto the tomato, maybe a little bit of pepper as well. What that does, it just releases the flavours from the tomato. Now that is just about ready to go in the oven. As I said, the oven's at 200, that's centigrade, 400 Fahrenheit or gas mark 6. Remember, when you take it out of the oven, use a glove or a towel or something. As I said, it's put it in the oven now. It's going to be in there for about 20 minutes or so until that top is nice and either crispy, or if you like it just melted, just put it in for 10 minutes. If you like it crispy, 20 to 25 minutes. You will see on top of the dish there's some oil, and that's the oil that's come out of the cheese. So if you leave it to stand for a few minutes, maybe 10 minutes, it will then be cool enough for you to eat, and most of the oil will have been absorbed. Right, now that's been cooling for a few minutes, and as you can see, I'll try and show you a closer shot. The oil is now absorbed back into the dish, which is what you want. What I'm going to do now is dish some up and do a taste test. Like it. It's got Nice bits of stringy cheese. I do like that in my mac cheese. I'll dish it up now and I'm going to try it with a little bit of tomato and some of the pasta. Let's see how that tastes. Oh yeah, that cheese comes through so nicely, so strong. You can almost taste the slightly different flavours of the cheeses. Yeah, I think that's spot on, that one. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe to follow my journey to my overnight mooring in a beautiful spot. And I make a no-bake lemon cheesecake. See you soon.